Hi everyone, this is Rihola Bitata. I am the founder of STEAM Power. We are opening doors to diversity in STEM. We are changing narratives. And for the month of March, we are celebrating women in STEM. Today, our guest is a senior consultant for Engineering Safety Consultants Limited with over 7 years experience within process and functional safety, providing consultancy for a wide variety of industry sectors such as oil and gas, biocontainment, nuclear, defense, and chemical. She has a bachelor's degree in electrical and electronic engineering from Brunel University and is also a certified functional safety engineer. Welcome, Chantal.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for your time. So let's begin. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
So, my name is Chantal Sealey. I'm 30 years old. I live in Southeast London and I am a senior safety consultant for a consultancy company within the centre of London. So, I've been doing that for nearly 8 years now, and it's something that I've been doing since I graduated university.
Mhm.
So I graduated out of university during the economic downturn. So when graduates were having quite a lot of difficulty finding jobs.
Mhm.
And I found that I was applying for everything just to get into engineering.
Do you remember how many jobs did you apply to?
It was countless. I can't even put a number on it because I was just sending out my CV, covering letter, doing applications online. So I found that I was getting through to kind of the next stages where you would have kind of assessment centers or you'd have to do aptitude tests. But then after that, I wouldn't hear anything, or I would get told because they had so many applicants, I wasn't in consideration. So it definitely kind of demotivated me a little bit just because I'd spent so many years studying engineering at university and then to find that nobody would give you that opportunity um, to kind of use what you learn and develop on it.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
so I'd spent a year after university claiming job seekers, and then obviously going to the job center and trying to explain to them kind of what you do in order for them to find jobs. When they heard I did electrical and electronic engineering, they automatically thought of, or I could fix boilers or refrigerators or stuff like that, or work on cars. That was kind of their mentality on what my engineering had to do with, which wasn't correct at all. So being put in that situation where you had these people trying to help you find work, but they didn't actually understand that specific area within engineering. I think also because they had preconceptions on what engineering was, it was very difficult to kind of get any help from them.
So it sounds to me that they were quite ignorant, to be polite.
Yes, I think it was in that way. They automatically assumed engineering has to do with fixing things, which for some careers is correct. You know, you have engineers that come and fix your boiler, you have engineers that work on cars, refrigerators, but that's only kind of one aspect on engineering. So
So tell us,
engineering,
explain then to us, what does your engineering career entail?
so the job that I'm in now is revolving around safety. So when people think of safety, they automatically think of, again, kind of slips and trips within the workplace. So that is health and safety, which is a part of safety engineering, but the engineering that I'm in is functional safety engineering. So it's ensuring that facilities have the relevant processes in place to avoid having disastrous situations. So
Such as?
explosions, um, overheating of appliances, or like if you think of like big industrial heaters, you don't want those sort of things to overheat and explode, because you could kill a number of people, and depending on where the facility is, it could get out to the environment as well. So it's just ensuring that these companies have the relevant processes in place, in order for them to work safely and to avoid these situations from happening,
Mm-hmm.
and also to ensure that they're complying with the international standards,
All right.
and health regulations that we have within the country.
Okay. So now you have taken us forward into your journey through university, well, after university, but can
Yeah.
you take us back to your childhood? What inspired you to become an engineer?
So when I was younger, I think, like, I didn't even think of becoming an engineer. I'd gone through so many things that I wanted to do. So I wanted to become a midwife at one point, a forensic scientist. I think from watching a lot of CSI, it kind of glamorized it for me. And even at one point, a lawyer. But then these ideas that I had, I found that I liked the idea, but I couldn't see myself doing it for something long term. I wanted to make sure that I was doing something that I enjoyed, because obviously your career, you're doing it for quite a long time. So you want it to be something you enjoy. And I found in secondary school that I enjoyed maths and the sciences quite a lot. They were my go-to subjects. And when it came to looking for colleges, I wasn't sure if I wanted to study them individually, or if I wanted to go down one specific route, maybe into maths or into a specific area of science. And it was just really through research and looking through like college prospectuses that I came across engineering. And then I started doing my own research online into what engineering was.
Were you coached by
And
anyone, a mentor?
No, I wasn't. So we had career advisors in secondary school, but they weren't really, it wasn't really focused on like the maths and science. It was more kind of, going into nursing or banking or into IT or medicine. There wasn't really anything in regards to engineering and kind of maths, and what jobs you could do with them. So it was kind of my own research that I had to do in order to find out about engineering. And I realized that it wasn't just about someone fixing things. It was also about coming up with solutions that could be used in real world situations.
Mm-hmm.
So although it had the practical side of things, it also had the problem solving side of things. And I find having the problem solving, it gives me a challenge, and it never gets, you're not always having the same problem. It's always something different. So
Mm-hmm.
that's what kind of excited me, that it was a combination of both maths and science in a way, so I could combine the two.
Do you think that when you were well, at high school, the school was actually preparing you to take a career in STEM?
No, I don't. I definitely don't think they were. When I was in secondary school, you did have a placement that you went to, and the placement I went to, it was for a company that owns quite a lot of shopping centers within the UK. So I thought I would be doing something really exciting. Obviously, I wasn't expecting to go quite in depth because I was still in school. But for those 2 weeks that I was on the work placement, I just did photocopying. Um, so, photocopying documents for meetings, setting up the meeting packs. So that's what I did for 2 weeks. And a lot of the other placements, because I went to an all-girls school, so a lot of the other placements that people went to were mainly so like nursery or like administration areas. So there wasn't any, it was kind of, I think what people assume that women should go into. So kind of the caring industries or kind of the secretarial roles. And then after doing that placement, I knew for definite that I didn't want to do something while I was doing that, because it wouldn't be something that I could see myself doing as a career at all.
So overall, would you say that the schools, well, if we have to think about what's happening now, maybe you are, or you've seen people like yourself that have just entered the company and they started like you. Do you think that they are as qualified as you were when you did it 10 years ago?
So I think now schools are definitely doing a lot more in regards to STEM. I know that the secondary school I went to, they do have like a STEM club now, and they're getting involved with,
Sorry, what school was that?
so it was St. Martin's, so it's in Norwood. So they have a STEM club now. And I think a lot of schools now, they do sort of the STEM activities, and there's also Lego competition. So you get the chance to kind of build Lego robots and get them to go around a course, basically like an obstacle course. So I definitely think that it has progressed from when I've been in secondary school. But again, I guess it depends on what school you go to as well. Obviously with budgets and also having the teaching capacity to do it, I'm not sure if it's readily available to everybody that is in school. So I think a lot of kids are probably missing out on the opportunity to get involved. And also I think it's because people don't know where to get the information from. It's not really something that you see a lot. You'll see a flyer somewhere out in the community about something to do with STEM. It seems more predominantly you either have to know somebody or you have to come across it online somewhere.
Talking about the attitudes in the community, I think you saw the attitudes of some businesses towards women,
Yeah,
how they were kind of funneling you down the route of PR secretaries. Nothing wrong with that, but obviously
yeah.
that was a very narrow options, very few options there. And I was wondering, what attitudes do you find within the community?
I think it's that obviously it's that women are seen as obviously the carers. So things such as nursing or being a care assistant, or working in a nursery or being a teacher is kind of where you would excel in. And also I think that the perception of engineering, you think of high vis and the hard hat. So you think of working on a building site and thinking, women aren't going to be strong as men to do those sort of jobs.
But the other flip side, you also have the accidents that happen during within these fields. People actually either dying or losing limbs.
Yeah, so I think, they see it as something, oh, they don't want their daughter to go through. And also I think people have the perception, because not a lot of people do engineering, especially Black and probably in particular women, that it's probably not a career you'd ever be able to kind of make any inroads in or kind of progress up the ladder. So why would you want to go into that industry in the first place?
Thank you for that. I think this is really, really important, how we unconsciously were stereotyping, we use stereotypes and influence young people's career choices. So how can we counter?
I think it needs to start with at community level. So within schools, I think is kind of the main area that it needs to be in. You need to have, people from Black communities going in and talking to kids in school. Maybe even if they're running sort of workshops, and making, the children do some fun activities that kind of relates in some way to maybe maths or engineering, and just trying to take away from the fact that, maths is not all about hard equations, or engineering is not all about, building something, but also getting kids to kind of think of solutions to problems, because obviously they are the next generation and they will be the next, builders of our buildings and our bridges, the next cars and everything. So I think it's just trying to show them the fun side of engineering, I think is the best way to go with it. just to show them there is that other option you can go down.
Thank you. And in concluding, can you tell us what you're reading and what would you recommend us to read?
So at the moment, what I'm reading is not to do with engineering, but I'm reading, it's called The New Jim Crow. So it's by someone called Michelle Alexander. So I found that I'd gotten out of touch with reading just because I'd been so busy with work. So during the lockdown, I've tried to get back into reading a bit more. So that's a book that I've had for a number of years that I haven't read. So I'm in the process of reading it at the moment. But in general, for me, I tend to now try to read more from Black authors, even especially autobiographies such as Malcolm X and Asata, just because I think there's so much of Black history that I just have I'm still learning about, and there's a lot that I've had no idea we've actually been a part of. So I'm just trying to educate myself a bit more to the achievements that Black people have done.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So this is the end of the interview, and we'll be back celebrating women in STEM. And until then, take care. Bye.